And welcome to The Link Online. I like that little piano jingle there. What do you guys think? Is that kind of cool?
It's not a bad piano
It's
player.
not a bad piano player. All right, there we are live also on Facebook at this time. One of these cameras is looking at us. Is it this one? There we are. Hello, wave to the camera. That is live on Facebook.
Hi.
And are we also live on our own website at this point? We're supposed to be.
Not today.
Not today.
Not today.
But soon, coming soon to a RCI webpage near you, live on the show. And on the show today in studio, we have once again our regular feature, Linda Jardin.
Hello there.
And our special feature, Terry Haig, joins us.
Hey, Mark. Special feature.
And Marie-Claude.
And Marie-Claude Simard, who is here controlling web things, and in the control booth, controlling control booth things and sound, and with his smiling face is Martin Lavoie. Hello, Martin. Big smile from Martin. Coming up on the show this particular edition, Lynn, what do you have for us?
I'll tell you about mental health problems that are plaguing Canadian farmers and why many of them just won't get help.
I have a rather surprising policy announcement by China concerning the Arctic. And Marie-Claude, you've got a special feature for us.
Yes, I'll be talking to you about my cooking column that I write for the French section of Radio-Canada International. And I have a treat for you guys, specifically you guys.
Oh, this is something to look forward to. We'll share it with you, too, by the way. Terry's going to help us read the letters, and those are coming up just a little while later on the program. The Link Online. Stay with us. Well, January 31st was the day this year when a major telecom company held its annual campaign to raise funds and awareness about mental health issues. And in 2007, the Canadian government created a non-profit organization to study mental health issues, so the subject is being discussed more and more. And now one group has put the focus on farmers, a group we don't hear too much about. Lynn, you looked into this.
I did, Mark. The Do More Agriculture Foundation was recently created to raise awareness about the mental health problems in agriculture, to break the stigma about it, and to build a community of support and resources for people who are affected. Now, it seems many farmers are suffering, and as we said at the beginning, they're reluctant to get help. To find out why, I spoke with one of the foundation's founders, Himanshu Singh. How prevalent are mental health problems among Canada's farming community?
Unfortunately, the stats are actually quite significant. There's research that was done out of the University of Guelph, and the number of farmers that met the definition for depression classification or the definition of anxiety classification or reported having high stress was really high. But what was more worrisome is the number of producers that responded to the survey and said that they wouldn't seek counseling due to the stigma that's associated with mental health and illness.
Do we have actual numbers or percentages?
Yeah, so 35% of producers met the definition for depression classification. 45% of producers report having high stress, and 58% of producers meet the definition of anxiety classification.
Do we know why?
Well, if you think about agriculture and farming, there's a lot of factors that can contribute to this. More importantly, there's a lot of factors that aren't in the control of the producers year in, year out. Things like weather, things like disease that can affect our crops, or even commodity prices. All of these things can compound and become have a real effect on the mental well-being of a producer.
Can you give me an idea of why they are so reluctant to seek help?
I think there is an image and culture in agriculture where you're expected to be rough and tough and that you don't necessarily need to ask for help. And I think that's especially true when it comes to something like mental health.
How can your foundation help?
So our foundation, getting started, is focused on two things. First, we really want to help destigmatize and educate the ag industry on mental health. And then second, we want to help build a community that supports and facilitates open conversations. And we want to do this while we provide a central hub for resources that are out there for those that are affected and impacted.
What can the industry do to help?
it's really important for the industry to educate themselves. So if you think about agriculture as an industry and the frontline staff of a lot of these agriculture companies, they are the people that are in regular interactions with the producer. They're also likely one of the first people that may notice or have some sort of indication that something is wrong. So for them to be able to recognize that, be able to be trained and know how to deal with that and refer someone that might be in need to the proper resources will play a very important role in us moving forward.
And that Chu Singh, he's a co-founder of the Do More Agriculture Foundation. Canada, of course, is a huge country, and there can be great distances between the farms. So I asked him how farmers can get help if they are far away from the town centres or from healthcare facilities. He said that there are telephone services that offer counselling. One in Saskatchewan is a 24-hour line. And there are also online services which can be accessed by computer. But he said there is definitely a need to encourage people who are in need to use these services.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about farmers, but, they do have a very stressful existence, with, the vagaries of weather and, as you pointed out, there's a great distance between farms. Just simply socializing with other people is a real problem, so.
Yep.
Interesting subject. We have more coming up on the program. Well, and a public announcement by China this week came as a big surprise to diplomats, governments, and militaries around the world, but most especially in northern countries. China, which normally cannot be considered an Arctic nation, publicly presented a white paper or policy statement on its declaration of being a near-Arctic state and its intentions to become an influential player in the Arctic. Now, its stated intentions to play a role in such things as sustainable development of resources. And the question, however, is its position on such things as control over vast regions. For example, Canada's assertion that the Northwest Passage is completely under Canadian jurisdiction. This was one of the questions I put to Professor Robert Hubert of the University of Calgary, an expert on strategic and Arctic issues.
Really interesting because it's on the issue of what is the legal status of the waterways of the North, and specifically the Canadian Northwest Passage, and for the Russians, the Northeast Passage, and sometimes known as the Northern Sea Route. The Chinese say they want to respect everybody's view of sovereignty in this regards, and so they don't specifically come out and say if they're on the Russian side, which of course is saying that these are internal waters, or if they're on the American side, whose view is that these are international straits. So it's once again, it's a really nice piece of diplomatic language saying they'll respect everyone's views on sovereignty. When in fact, when push comes to shove, you can't do it because they're in direct opposition to each other. I think in the West we often forget that they play for the long term, whereas in the West we tend to play for nothing longer than at most maybe a 4-year period in terms of our governance systems. And once again, it comes to the difference. They are an authoritative state. They've never had elections, and they can therefore set their policies up in a much longer term. The other side of the coin that's not talked about is, of course, that China is emerging as one of the most powerful maritime nations in the world. They're building up a navy that many people think is a direct effort to eventually catch up to the Americans.
Professor Hubert, you are, of course, also a strategic expert, military and analyst and so on and so forth. If you were to sum up what you thought about this document and the Chinese long-term goals in a few words, what would you say?
Oh, it's a brilliant political document to really, depending on your perspective, either to lull you into complacency or acceptance that the Chinese you don't have to be too concerned with, or once again to lull you into a false sense of security. I mean, of course, the result is the proof will be in the pudding once we see the ultimate Chinese designs on their submarines and behavior from a maritime perspective. I think you're going to see a lot of people just simply take this as sort of a sign of, okay, good, they can work with us. But I think a lot of people are going to take it as, okay, we can work with them, but at what price?
And that was an excerpt of a longer conversation with Professor Rob Hubert, an expert on Arctic and security issues in the Department of Police at the University of Calgary in Alberta. And as you've just seen on the screen there, it's an interesting article and a long conversation I had with him. Very interesting indeed about the Chinese intention to be a major player in the Arctic. Now, taking a look at some of the comments that you've posted, and a reminder once again, of course, that you can post your thoughts and comments to all of our stories, actually, by going to the very bottom of that story page, and the form is right there. If we can go down to the bottom, maybe we can see one of those forms just to tell people. Is that possible?
I'm going at the bottom.
There it is.
Yes, well, yeah, let me just...
Anyway.
Buttons. Okay, here it is.
Oh, there it is. So if you go down to the bottom, you see that there, and that's where you can post your comment. And we had a lot of interesting comments, as we usually do. And we'll start out with today, and this was one of several comments about a bitter debate, you might say, about a story entitled "Bitter Debate Ends with a Change to Canada's National Anthem." And we start with something posted by Casey MacDonald. Terry.
Really, where do we draw the line? Anyone who wants the anthem changed, in my eyes, is not very patriotic. Try that in the USA or any other country, an absolute outrage.
And someone posted as Uncle Bill was unhappy as well.
I will never support the Liberals again. This is really stupid event.
And I should point out that the debate was all about changing two words in the national anthem in English. The French version has never changed. And the words were, "in all thy son's command." That's an anthem, "in all thy son's command." And it is now changed to "in all of us command." In other words, to make it gender neutral. And Hillary Taylor weighed in on the discussion with this comment.
A national anthem should never be changed. What a country. This is the second time Canada has done this, so stupid. You would never see the USA change the Star-Spangled Banner.
You know, I love the way you do that. You have such great emphasis.
Well, Hillary inspires me.
Liam Fraser also seemed to come out against the change when he commented.
Prime Minister Trudeau has failed to listen to the overwhelming majority of Canadians. If Trudeau really wanted to change the anthem, he should have done it correctly with either the Maple Leaf Forever or back to God Save the Queen.
Yeah, you know what? I love the Maple Leaf Forever. I always thought, because for a long time at the beginning of the last century, there was kind of a competition between the Maple Leaf Forever and O Canada to be the national anthem. And the Maple Leaf Forever, I think, is just a much more stirring tune as far as melodies go. Do you know that, Maple Leaf Forever?
I was before my time, Mark.
Okay.
I never heard it. But we're Canadians. We don't wave the flag.
So there's something for listeners. Just go look at a version online somewhere of Maple Leaf Forever, and compare that melody-wise with O Canada. And I think I'll have a lot of people agree with me on that.
I like O Canada.
Well, it's okay, sure. You know,
Oh, it's okay.
Canada.
It's okay.
But the Maple Leaf is much more stirring.
Treason!
You want to get the blood. Treason. Trees in the forest. All right, let's...
New Brunswick. That was last week's post.
All right, let's go on to this computer thing, autonomous cars. Now, there's been a lot of talk about autonomous cars beginning to appear on our highways, or at least semi-autonomous, because, you know, you're still supposed to have the driver theoretically in control. And there's been a couple of accidents with these cars as well, by the way. It seems the mining industry has already started with enormous self-driving dump trucks at mine sites. And this week, a story, the trials have been satisfactory, and a big oil sands operation in Alberta is going to buy a large number of these huge vehicles and put about 400 drivers and others out of work. Peter Ashcroft in England wrote this.
More automation versus increasing workforce worldwide. Certainly a fluctuating situation, understates our friend Peter. It's a big deal, is what's going on in automation.
Well, yeah, well, think about it. You know, if we get autonomous cars and trucks, there are about 3 million drivers, like taxi drivers and commercial drivers and truck drivers, that are going to be out of work. You know, what are you going to do with some of these people, you know?
And what about hitchhikers?
Well, yeah. I mean, the car's going to just whiz right by you and never even look at you, right?
There must be an app for that.
And who's going to practice that hitchhiker's jog? You know, you don't want to threaten the guy if they stop you. So you look harmless as you jog up to the car. It's an art.
All right, we had an interesting talk with a computer expert who worked on it he worked on a hundreds of years old mystery. An ancient manuscript was written in some kind of code which has defied all efforts to decode. The title was Ancient Mystery, Canadian Computer Works on Decoding. And Ursula Wagner in Germany wrote this.
Of course, I'm less than an expert, but my first thought as I looked at the photos was that it looks like an ancient kind of book on the knowledge of naturopathic medicine. It reminds me very much of the monastery medicine of the wise Hildegard von Bingen, who lived from 1098 to 1179. Here, such medicine is still in use. In the UK and Ireland, I don't know about Canada, one can buy Hildegard spelt in health food stores.
All right. We had a study about the Canadian Army getting some new all-terrain types of vehicles. This is something like between a dune buggy and American military Humvee. It's kind of an open vehicle. And we had a comment from Marcus who said this.
$371,000 for a vehicle with no doors? Well, that's a wonderful way of spending our hard-earned tax dollars. I hope they come with a force field, or better yet, they are made out of gold. Someone is making a pretty penny for something it builds for $30K. I wish I was there when that deal was made. I would have shut it down for unethical business practices, so scandalous. I would like to throw who signed off on that one.
Oh, I'd like
to know who signed off on that one.
I'd like to throw them under the bus. No, I'd like to know who signed off on that one.
Okay. It's all where you put the emphasis, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, that's why we bring you here, Terry.
Mark, can you see that we're actually on our website? This is our show. That's the top of our...
But I'm not moving.
No,
well, we have to press play, but I'm not going to play...
Okay.
We're not going to watch ourselves.
Happen. Don't do anything crazy.
No, yeah. I know.
Look, there's my story.
Where?
No, wait. That's the regular part.
See if you can find the one with these little vehicles.
Okay.
Where you're getting sidetracked. People are going to forget what these letters are about.
Well, okay.
I just wanted to rectify because I had said that we weren't on our website, but we are. We're live on our website.
All right.
Yes.
Voila.
As indicated by all of this, what we're doing right now.
I just want to add one thing. I'd like to know who signed off on that one.
Okay.
All right.
Back to the military vehicles.
Jason responded to that post by saying,
probably there are costs involved that we don't know about, like servicing and parts supply included in the contract over a couple of years or so. I think repair maintenance will be done by Polaris dealers, though why the military won't do repairs is beyond me. A weakening of force capability? Remember, the Iltis Jeep cost about $80K each for what it would typically be about $6K vehicle. Also, although they at least were built here. And he puts in brackets, jobs. The new Arctic Ranger rifle Tikka cost $1K in the stores.
That's $1,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Ranger version with a couple of minor mods, what the heck does that mean? Modifications
costs.
Oh, costs more than $6K each. I don't know. I didn't understand any of that, but I guess if you're into the military hardware, it's now you got to read something from Ray Young Jr.
He added something, indeed.
Well, they cost more than $30K to build. Look into it further. But Megan wrote, fantastic news. This sets the benchmark for further procurement endeavors.
Well done, too.
Thank you. I'm getting better.
And he put us back on track. All right, on a story about excessive house prices in Canada, especially in the big cities of Toronto and Vancouver, and who is to blame, Daniel Webb wrote,
please tell us why New York, London, and LA, as in Los Angeles, have skyrocketing prices that are even higher than Vancouver and Toronto. If high prices is a step in the progress of economic success, then to deliberately lower them would slow economic success. What are we doing that for? Surely that there could be compromise. Otherwise, there would be riots in New York, Los Angeles, and London every day. When he asks what are we doing that for, maybe not everyone agrees that economic success is the ultimate goal of everything, and that maybe ordinary people should have a place to live. Maybe.
What are you, some kind of radical?
Yes, I am.
Not a neoliberal, eh? What?
We're supposed to be neutral, but I was
Okay.
just sort of playing devil's advocate to put some balance
Well,
in there.
Terry, what did Mike say?
Mike
Terry?
responded, economic success
There you go.
for who? Just a few. What about the next generation? Should they never be able to afford housing? Give your head a shake. The rich can afford to lose a little. The lower 90% need housing, period. I say you seize all properties of non-residents and redistribute them, redistribute those properties to those who need it.
Wow, he's even more radical than I am.
All right. Well, there you
Crazy.
go. And of course, once again,
I love it. Oh, it's good to have. It's good to have, both sides of the issue. It's very nice. We love your letters. No matter what we say, we do appreciate them. Keep those cards and letters coming.
Yeah.
Mark will tell you where they are. Go ahead, Mark.
Well,
do
you
it.
can also, write your comments on the back of a $20 bill and send that to us. We'll be glad to.
Oh, that's what got Soupy Sales fired.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
On a New Year's
and
morning.
that'll get stolen by the post office.
He had this kids show on a New Year's morning. He went in, he told all the kids, he said, kids, your parents are probably sleeping. So go in, grab their wallets, and send me what's in there. And he was fired right after.
And then Fang came in and did this.
Who's Fang?
I thought you watched that show.
Who is Fang?
Fang was the arm with the claws.
Oh,
on
of course, that's right.
Yeah.
And he did the mouse. They did the mouse,
Yeah,
right?
he did
You
the
can
mouse.
do it in your house, yeah.
No idea what they're talking about.
Because it was in the United States, not Canada, probably, and you're not.
I know, we were too poor to have the
A TV?
American cable.
Oh, okay.
I live near a border town with the United States, so I got all the WKBW sort of thing. Channel 7 News. It's 11
When do
o'clock.
we get the food?
Yeah.
Well, let's do that. Let's come up with that. We'll get the food ready after this. All right, Marie-Claude, it's time to feature your special adventure. And this is a culinary one.
For the past several weeks, I've been writing that cooking column on our French section, part of the website. And it's called Cuisine Je me souviens, which could be translated by Cuisine I remember. So each time I speak to a different person who tells me about a dish from his or her childhood and something that brings up memories. So we end up cooking the dish and talking about the memories. So eventually I will do it in English, maybe. I would like that. This time I asked the person I saw to do me a little clip in English. But first of all, I'll explain to you what the dish was about. So I was invited to Cécile Wafo. She lives in Montreal with her husband, Jean-Claude Wafo. They come from Cameroon. They've been here for 8 years. And she told me about the national dish of Cameroon, which is called the dole. Now, there's an N in front of dole, so you have to pronounce it like indole. Yeah, and it's a kind of a stew, let's say, and the base of it is crushed peanuts.
Peanuts?
Crushed peanuts mixed with the dole itself, which is a leaf. And in English, actually, that leaf is called bitter leaf.
Bitter
yeah,
leaf,
so
yeah.
it's a bitter leaf, and you have to actually boil it several times, many times, before you actually use it to take away the
Bitterness?
bitterness. So I have pictures of the dish itself. First of all, I would like to thank Cécile in case she's listening, and Jean-Claude, because they were just so generous to have me over at their Outremont home. And I really enjoyed it. So here we go, because I will be serving you a bit of dole, but first I'll show you the pictures. Let me see. Sorry, I'm not at the right place for some reason. Wait, one moment. We're getting there. We're getting there.
This is the behind-the-scenes technical part.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the mouse, yeah.
Here we
yeah.
go.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna. Now let me make sure that our auditor are seeing. So here she is, Cécile, serving the plate. So we can see it's basically white because of the peanuts that are crushed with onions and ginger and other goodies. There's even a secret ingredient that I will tell you what it is.
She gave you her secret?
Yeah. Well, and next picture is closer
Yum.
view. Yeah, it's very
Whoa.
good. So you can have various types of meat in it. It could be anything really, and even fish or shrimp. And she served it with plantain in the back, but you can serve it with a variety of vegetables, of course. Now, smaller view. And here are the ingredients. So we see the dole that she,
Oh, those are the leaves
yeah,
that she had to boil many times.
yeah. For some reason, they're not seeing the change of the pictures in. But it's okay. It doesn't.
I guess they'd be something like dandelion leaves in a way.
I don't know.
Because
Really.
some people,
Well,
use
this
dandelions.
is one of the marvelous things about Montreal is you can get ingredients from all over the world just because there's such an ethnic diversity in the population.
She gets it, I think, in the Chinese
Markets?
market and Jean Talon and stuff like that. So you can see there's the dole here, the bowl of the peanuts that are boiled, onions, ginger, and in that little baggie here is the dried crayfish that she put 2 tablespoons of it. So that's very good. And now the last picture is Jean-Claude. Now we had a very fun discussion about men not being accepted in the kitchen in Africa. So it's a rule. So he stays kind of
In the laundry room.
yeah. But he dared come in and he participated in the conversation, and that was really fun. And we had a good time. So now let's go to the video, if you want.
There we go.
My dole. It is comment dire? It's a dish. It is a dish from Cameroon, from the littoral.
It happens to be the main dish, the national dish in Cameroon.
It's the national dish of Cameroon, and we are going to eat with plantains, red plantains,
Boiled.
We're gonna eat it with plantain.
We are going to eat with plantain.
And what's in the dole?
In the donut, you have groundnut. Comment on appelle le groundnut?
Bitter leaves.
Bitter leaves.
Bitter leaves. Okay.
Peanuts, boiled peanuts, cow meat, crayfish,
Oh oui, crayfish.
crayfish, onions,
Ginger.
ginger, and what else?
C'est qui t'a enseigné à faire le dole? Who taught you to do the dole?
It's my mother and and friends also.
In your village in Cameroon.
In my village in Cameroon. First person was my mother. Okay.
So here it is.
What a cool family. Well,
Lovely smile.
All right. Now this is the even better because Marie-Claude has some of this to give us.
I'm looking at the clock ticking down, Marie-Claude.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll eat it,
after the show.
So
Now, this is where Marie-Claude does several things at once because she's supposed to be
you'll have to move your.
I have to move my paper.
operating the...
Here we go.
This,
Only he gets a placemat?
I think, this is a little
Here
special.
is the dole.
Oh!
Now I have.
Well, wait. No, what we're going to do is we'll put this. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yes.
You don't run this show.
Here it is. Sorry, I'm a bit stressed. So that's for you, Lynn.
Oh, that's too much for Lynn.
Okay, well,
That's for Terry.
okay, that's for
Go, Terry.
Thank you.
We'll save some for
smells
Martin.
really
I'll
good.
see.
Yeah, save some for Matt. You can give me less. I'll share with Martin.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, you don't have to
plantain.
finish it. I won't be upset.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Thank you.
No.
Delicioso.
How
Yeah.
neat is this?
And
It's
that's
cool.
yours. There's
man.
that's beef.
Oh,
All right. Look at
oh
this.
man, that is so good.
And this
Really good.
give one for Martin in the control booth as well.
Yeah, but don't go now because
We're running,
give-
out,
we're
we're
running out of time. We're going to
No,
have
we
to
have
sign
enough.
off.
No, we
This
have
is
time.
lovely. This is,
See,
you know
I
what?
came prepared.
There's a little hint of bitter
Yes.
But it's nice. It's not like overwhelmingly bitter.
That
It's
is nice.
salty. It's incredibly
salty.
flavorful.
Salty, yeah.
You can taste the onions. You can taste the ginger.
I mean, I'm not an expert at cooking the plantain, so they're not probably not the best.
So this is
Did you make this one?
ndole. No.
Just the plantain, but not the doli.
Yeah. Ndole. Well, on that happy note, guess what? We're out of time for the show today. We have dessert after the show. We have, look at this.
Nom nom.
So, for
Cecile, thank you.
yeah.
This is so good. Wait.
So for Lynn Desjardins, who is enjoying her meal, Terry Haig, who is enjoying his meal, Martin in the control booth, who's going to enjoy his meal, Marie-Claude, who brought us this whole
Yeah,
thing.
and who needs to do this more often? We really like this.
Marie-Claude Simard, thank you so much. I'm Mark Montgomery. That's it for today. Take care
Bye.
tonight. Bye.
Bye.
Fabulous. Yum, yum.